July 2nd, around 11:30, afternoon wrap up. So there's still an hour or so left in the markets, but I don't see myself taking a trade, and I don't see myself holding because I don't want to hold anything over the 3-day weekend. We Friday the market's closed due to the 4th of July, and I just think it's better to sort of check everything out and then do a weekend outlook and then start fresh on Monday. So that being said, some movement today. Non-farm payrolls did come out. I'm anchored here on the pound yen, which I don't. There's no story here, so I'll just move on. Um, for most other assets, though, going the Australian dollar, U.S. dollar, we're seeing dollar weakening. It's the best way I could put it with this non-farm payrolls. So we have Australian dollar shooting up, and we have made ourselves hit new break above and close above the high. So we are now in an uptrend, right? Higher high, higher low, big base here on this low, and then higher high with a nice close on the hourly. So we are in a retracement mode now. I put some zones that might be interesting on here. So the fibs would put us right down here above this candle. Zoom in just in case. But I also just put this in as a support area. On the 15-minute, it looks very corrective. So again, not much to do. Just wait and see. I'm not going to put a trade on with a 3-day weekend coming up, and we're not into one of my zones anyway. So not much to do except for I think next week we might see some movement. It's almost like this non-farm payroll kind of unclogged some things. So then moving into gold, it's a little bit of the same story. So here we have a real nice bottoming, double, triple bottom. We have broken above the neckline. It's on the hourly. And we have closed twice now. So like a solid close above the neckline. And we are correcting and retracing. This is almost hard not to jump into because we have this beautiful little corrective action back to the neckline. And now we have an engulfing candle forming. So, it's hard not to, but again, it's just I'm not quite sure I want to take this trade right before the 3-day weekend. Probably just let it breathe and wait for a better setup on my timeline. But it is interesting. I think we are bullish. Well, we're in an uptrend on the hourly by far. Um, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high above a neckline break, and now correcting back in. 240 sort of shows the main thing. I think the next major high is right up here at 42.39, call it. So we'll see what happens next week on gold. Going into the euro, a little bit of the same story. So 240 here, you can see we did close above this zone of resistance that's been pushing us. I'm going to zoom back out because on the weekly, this line here, hopefully everyone can see it, was the one that had me really excited a week ago because we closed below, but now we are solidly closing back in. So, we'll see what that means. Perhaps we continue upwards, perhaps we don't. I'm not here to predict, but I will say on the 240, we have now had a higher high, higher low, and a higher high. So we are in a bull structure. It could be corrective coming off of this major downtrend, but want to watch what happens as we get to these highs around here with the euro and see how much of this spike up or dollar down, if you will, continues into next week after the weekend. I'm going to switch back to gold. I think this is the one I forgot to show it, but yeah, so gold, if I look down at the very tips of these tails on the daily, it's not quite in a zone. I mean, you could argue this a little bit here, but when I go to the weekly, what's really interesting is this last low on the weekly, we have two major buy tails in these candles here, and we were not able to close below it so far in 2 weeks. Really, three tests. Just count this one too. So we came down, had a lot of buying, came down, went through it, had a lot of buying, came down, went through it. Now, look to be, we're going to finish the week in a doji. All things considered, the week's not over, but we're within an hour, 90 minutes of closing for the week. So, pretty safe to say this will close as a doji which this could be a really nice turnaround point, and we could be seeing ourselves starting to reverse this correction off of a major bull run and coming back into a bullish mindset, but we'll see. So jumped around a little bit there, I know. Now Bitcoin, a little bit of same story. We've been moving up today, based on non-farm and all that. That said, on the 240, we are just getting to the last, what I'll call minor high, which I guess we closed here, but we're not showing a solid close above anything. I'd like to see, we're still could be forming a double, triple bottom here. We are in that weekly zone of interest. So we'll see. This one I'm just monitoring. This nice little slowdown wedge into the zone of interest. We are starting to trend up on the 240, and on the 60-minute, definitely higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, et cetera, et cetera. So want to see more of a breakout above, hold, and retrace of these last highs for me to get excited about going looking for longs in Bitcoin, especially just, zooming back out to the daily. This downtrend we had was pretty significant. I mean, I think it's a 50% drop. Was at 130 down to 62. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of selling pressure here. So proceed with caution, but that said, the market will tell us when it's ready to change direction or continue on. Oil, we continue to just melt down into this slowing down sort of wedge pattern. We're now at 68. I know there's a lot of macro pressure to get oil down, administrative wise, but we'll see how long this lasts. I drew these earlier, but of course, NinjaTrader doesn't save them. Well, anyway, you see, but for me, the big thing when I was drawing this earlier is that we are still in a very much downtrend. This is on the 240, so we closed below the last low. We are now retracing and kind of entering that zone area, but if we don't take out this high here, at least, or this high, it's really hard to want to start looking for buys because we have just higher high, or sorry, lower high, lower low, lower high, low, flat but lower low, right? We've been trending down, and there's no shape that's telling me that this is reversing. Even on the hourly, this is still, I'm still assuming this will be corrective until we break above a high. It could pull back anywhere within here, but I'm not getting too excited about this little up move at the end of the day. And then last but not least, our friend, the S&P 500, zoom out to the weekly. It's just, again, I am not seeing a trend here. It's hard for me to want to get excited about anything. It's very choppy, very rough seas. On the daily, we're kind of just heading right back into this middle of this coil. And that's really all I have to say. I can start diving into the lower time frames and starting to build analysis, but we have just been coil triangling range bound. And even with today's news, you probably see it, had a little pop up, pop down. Now we're coming back up. I will say on the 60-minute, this was a pretty significant change of character. So we had that low broken and closed below, and we had this low broken and closed below, and then it wasn't until this low that it stopped. So, on a very short-term time frame, I think we are corrective and want to see how much we retrace into this last high here. That said, it's certainly not something that I would put on before the weekend, the 3-day weekend. Should we kind of pull back to here and then have a rip in the last hour and a half? I do sometimes like playing the last 40 minutes before the market close, but not trying to get too cute with it either. So all in all, that's the daily wrap up. Probably have not much more to add come the weekly outlook, but we'll do it anyway. And I think hopefully what we've seen is that non-farm payrolls sort of unclogged some stuff, and we're going to see some movement. That said, it's still July. These are kind of the doldrum months. Have to just stay patient and wait for the entries.